From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello, I'm Alison Mitchell and welcome to Stumped. With me for the ABC in Sydney is Jim Maxwell and Charu Sharma for Akashvani is in Bangalore. Now, the blockbuster multi-format series between Australia and India's women continues this week in what is Captain Alyssa Healy's final series before retirement. Now, one player who is tipped to follow in her footsteps with the bat is Australia's Georgia Voll. Not only did the 22-year-old guide Royal Challengers Bengaluru to the Women's Premier League title with a sensational 79 to complete a record chase in the final, Voll is also shining on the international stage and hit her highest T20 international score of 88 in the second T20 against India. And I'm delighted to say that we can speak to Georgia now. Welcome to Stumped, Georgia. It's great to see you. Are you just loving life at the moment at 22 years old and doing all of this?
Yeah, it's obviously I'm very grateful for where I am at within, the start of my career. I've been probably lucky to grab some opportunities when they've come up and, there's obviously been some ups and downs as well along the way. But, obviously it's been a nice start to my sort of career. So, definitely glad that and happy that it started that way.
Not to sort of heap too much pressure on you, but there were some headlines in the Australian press stating that the future of Australian cricket is in safe hands with Georgia Voll. I mean, you've long been earmarked as Alyssa Healy's successor. I just wonder, for you, how do you feel your game has developed in the last 12 months?
Yeah, I think obviously a big thing was sort of just obviously coming into the Australian setup last year was sort of trying to just evolve my game a little bit in terms of playing a little bit more 360, obviously probably known as a leg side and dominant player, and just growing in terms of that. I think, I've had my first year playing sort of domestic T20 comps around the world, which has been super fun and exciting, but probably just haven't quite nailed the consistency of that yet, which obviously comes with experience and time. And it's obviously been great to be able to, have that sort of year on the T20 circuit for the first time. So it's obviously just, building on that and growing on that, looking forward into the future. But I think probably the biggest thing is just trying to stay present as I can and, take the opportunities that I can when they arise. And in terms of that being in the Australian spot has obviously been on the back of, Midge being out or being injured or something like that, and sort of tried to fill that opening role and currently, filling in for Pez in that number 3 position, which I've done a little bit as well, but probably not as much as opening. So it's a nice new challenge as well.
I mean, those are both huge names to sort of fill in behind, and you've been doing it so well that you would have, you grew up watching Perry and Healy as well. What was it like when you're suddenly, playing alongside them and, so filling in for them?
The Australian side's been dominant for, 10 plus years. So to sort of come into that change room, I definitely pinched myself when I walked in that dressing shed for the first time up in Brizzy, almost 14 months ago. So to be sort of rubbing shoulders and turning up to training with those guys has been super special, I guess, and just to sort of, pick their brains a little bit in terms of, how they go about and how they deal with, certain ups and downs within their career and form and things like that as well. It's, I'm pretty lucky that I get to play alongside them.
And what sort of impact, if you had to sum up the impact that Alyssa Healy has had on the global game, as someone that watched her as you were growing up, what would you say?
I mean, the sort of way that we go about our cricket now is obviously very, aggressive and take the game on approach. And someone like Midge has done that her whole career. So the way that the sort of game is shaping now is probably off the back of, the way that she's gone about her cricket her whole career. So I think that's pretty cool that, the game is exciting as that now and there's big scores being scored and people chasing, that score of 200, which you probably never thought you'd chase. And just the way that the sort of game's moving forward in terms of that has been pretty exciting. And I think Midge was definitely one of the first players to take that aggressive approach and bat the way that she did. And, that's fallen into the way that the world cricket is being played these days.
Jim Maxwell in Sydney. Nice to be speaking with you, Georgia. Congratulations on your belligerent, confident style. But just tell me something about the way you go about your game, particularly now you've moved from the T20 to the 50 over game. there's obviously a little bit of premeditation given how far you can hit the ball. But are you tempering that a little bit more now in the 50 over game?
Yeah, obviously you have a lot more time to bat in terms of, moving formats from T20 to 50 over to even the test match over in Perth. But I think the biggest thing for me is just trying to keep things as simple as possible. And that's sort of watch the ball and hit the ball. And obviously there's certain times where, there is that risk that you need to take in T20 that you probably don't need to in the, one day format in terms of, going over the top or things like that. You can probably knock the ball around a little bit more, which, it takes the pressure off you a little bit. Playing that sort of style of cricket in one day form, I don't like to take a step back in terms of that. I probably just let little less risk in terms of the aerial shots probably and leave them sort of once you're set and going within the game.
Just watching the first 50 over game the other day, one of the differences seems to be fielding, your catching especially. Do you think you've got the edge over India more in the 50 over game than perhaps you may have had in the T20 game, which they won 2-1, because of your more athleticism, your greater capacity in the field to take catches?
I guess that plays a role. I think India have come a long way in terms of the way that they're playing their cricket in general. I think they're doing a lot of things right. I think obviously we pride ourselves on how athletic and we are in the field and the way that we can sort of get around to balls that, other teams might be scoring, 2 runs and we can try and cut that off for a single. And over the space of 50 overs, you can tell how many runs you can sort of save on that boundary, which then creates the pressure for players to then feel like they need to, hit the ball up. Or certain things like that. So, I definitely think that we pride ourselves on our athleticism and the way that we, go about our fielding. We obviously take it very seriously and those catches we do at training, 100% of the time. So it is, when you do that in training, you sort of expect that to fall into the games and it's nice that, it could come off like that the other day. But it shouldn't be, everyone, it's no surprise to anyone sort of within this group that's how, we pride ourselves on our fielding and we, expect to take those catches.
Georgia, congratulations on all the success of late and good luck for the future. What do you think about the rivalry now between India and Australia? Of course, India's done very well, beating Australia once again in the T20 series, but they've never won a one-day series against Australia in Australia. Of course, it started out rather well for your team. The rivalry, is it now something that's significant?
Yeah, it's definitely huge. Obviously, not being a part of the team for many years, but it's obviously been since the World Cup, them getting the edge over us in the semi-final and obviously them being world champions is a great step for them and probably gives them that extra step in confidence and things like that where they probably haven't had that in the past. And just the way that they're sort of going about their cricket, that they've probably settled a little bit more in their their lineup and their team and the teams that they're picking throughout the formats. But I think it just makes it great for world cricket and the spectacle of the sport, having that rivalry. And India's always been challenging for this Australian team. And that's no different now. I think it's probably gone up a level and it makes, it's always nice to be put under pressure and see, who comes out on top.
Well, it wasn't so far back. What a magnificent, near miraculous win against the Delhi Capitals of RCB. 79 in, 54 deliveries, a starring role there, Georgia. Give us your memories of that final because it was just a very tight match and there was a lot of tension in the end till rather Yadav got those final runs.
It was definitely a special day. It's something that I probably look back on and didn't really believe that it sort of happened or something. I actually just couldn't stop smiling, to be honest, after we chased that down. I think when you're at the halfway mark, you always think, you can sort of chase whatever, but chasing 200 plus in a final is probably something that I don't think has ever been done. So, it was obviously super, super exciting for the group, and to give back to the RCB fans, I think is probably something that was the biggest part for me. Seeing how much they get around the team and around the franchise is something that I've never seen before. So the fans traveling hours and hours to get to the games, and it sort of felt like, even though we had no home games, that we had a home game every time we played. So that's always special, and to have that backing of the RCB family, I guess. And just to bat out there with Schmitty for that period of time, and chip away at the total. And we probably made it a little bit hard for ourselves towards the back end of that game. We probably should have iced that in the 18th or 19th over, but it's obviously, just to get over the line in that sort of game was something so super special to be a part of.
Yeah, it was exhilarating to watch, and those fans are super passionate. Georgia, just to finish with something away from cricket, because anyone who follows you on social media will gather that you are a big fan of coffee. Now, are you the best barista in the Australian cricket team?
There is a couple of baristas in our team that all the girls love coffee. But yeah, I do love my coffee, and I love, creating art on top of their coffee, but it's sort of taken a little turn when I haven't been at home a whole lot, so probably need to get back into that. But yeah, obviously when we're away on tour and things, we travel with a coffee machine that sort of, I guess it's a social thing that everyone goes into the team room and makes a coffee in the morning. And yeah, it's obviously something that gets me away from cricket when I'm at home. I love, waking up in the morning, making a coffee, heading to the beach, or just sitting outside on my balcony. So it's something that I love, and it's a nice start to the morning. I don't know if I'll say I'm the best barista in the team, but I've probably also done the most courses, so I probably should be the best barista in the team too.
I've got a certificate. I did a course in 2016 in Melbourne. What's your best bit of latte art that you're most proud of?
Oh, I'm trying to get the Swan. I haven't quite nailed it. But yeah, it's probably just the couple stacks of tulips, I think.
I'm still struggling with a leaf. You beat me, don't worry. Georgia, fabulous to have you on Stumped. Good luck for the remainder of this multi-format series. And of course, there's a big T20 World Cup on the horizon as well. Lots to look forward to. Georgia, thanks for being with us on Stumped.
No worries. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you.
That's all we've got time for on Stumped for this week. So thanks to Charu and to Jim, and we'll see you all next week. Speak to you then. Bye-bye.